Well, hello and welcome back. We are continuing our working with the data sync as far as a tutorial for both MySQL and really for Python, since this is a Python script, but we're doing a lot of playing around with SQL. Now, since last time, one of the things that I wanted to mention is, and you'll see these in the update in GitHub, I was not closing out cursors before, and that can cause some issues. And so you always want to, everywhere you have an open, like you do here, where you're grabbing a cursor, you want to be able to close that back as well, just to make sure that you're reclaiming your resources. So everywhere that I had that, create missing tables, create missing columns, I would just come in after the fact and clean up those resources. Now, this episode, I want to get into, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to get into the data side of this. What we had before was we're able now to go from source to destination, and we can create tables, and then we can add in any missing columns. And now we get to deal with data. This one becomes a little tricky. Because there's a lot of different things we can run into. And the biggest thing being probably size of data. This is something you probably aren't going to want to run if you're dealing with millions of records, because it's just going to be time consuming. But let's sort of dive into this first and see what we can do. So let's start with, so we're going to call now this sync rows, and we're going to send it a list of the tables in the source database. Because now they should all be synced up, and then the two connectors. And so, where did we go back here? Up here, sync rows. So we'll go ahead and we'll just open up the cursors for both of them. Really don't need that missing columns. And our query is going to be select star from, and it's whatever the table is. And so that's going to be, and this is going to be our first part here. So let's just do it. We're just going to go from scratch sort of on this method function. So we're going to come in here. We are going to do our column query. Actually, we'll call this our source query now. Let's call it our data query. And for now, let's see, and then we wanted to do the fetch all. So let's see, source rows equals, what do we call that cursor? Source dot, if I spell it right, fetch all. There we go. And let's just do this for row in source rows. We're just going to print row. Print row. And this thing is going to blow us up because we're going to get a bunch of data. But let's go ahead and run this real quick. Let's see. That should work. So we're seeing a huge amount of data come by here because it's flipping through. In this case, it's one of those tables that has a huge amount of data. Here we've got one. And we can see, and each one that's sort of flying by, but you can see here where you're getting some, here we go. You're getting each of the columns, and then you're getting some sort of a converted value. So the nice thing is, what I can do is I can, for each row, I can basically do, I'm going to do a insert, actually, insert query. And it's not really query, we'll do statement equals insert into table, and so there's our table. Then we're going to have to give it the columns. And so our columns are going to be, we're going to have to come from a describe which we've done before. So we got to describe query. We'll just steal that here. Source rows. There we go. From that, describe results. Okay. And actually, let's do this. Insert statement equals that. And then we're going to do for item in, what do we call it? Description results or describe results. Insert statement equals insert statement, statement plus so each one we're going to do let's do our little tick mark and plus the name, which is item, which I believe is 0, gives us the column name, and then tick mark and then a comma. How do we want to do this? Okay, I'm going to do this a little differently. So, first equals true. If first, then I just do that. And first equals false. Else, I'm going to do the same thing, except for this time I'm going to start it with a comma. Let me do a comma. And then let's see, so I get all the way through it. And then I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say insert statement equals insert statement plus, I got to close that out. And then I'm going to do values. Values. If I can type right. And now I'm going to give my values. And then I'm going to end up ending it. And I'll end it with close it with a semicolon. So then what I need to do is, am I in the row? Oh, I want to do this within a row. Okay, so that gives me the start. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do %print. For each row. Okay. And this is going to be print search statement. And what I want to do is not build that over and over again. So this is going to be insert base. Because I need this to be, what I'm going to do is this is going to be what I'm going to start with for each one. And we'll see this in a second. Here we go, there's insert base. Okay, so insert base, insert base, insert base, insert base, and I get that. So here, insert statement for each one equals insert base plus equals insert base. Let's do it this way. So for each row, yeah. Let's do this because I know I'm going to have to close that out. So he equals that, and then he equals insert statement to close it out. And then for within the row, I'm going to want to go through each, let's do for value in row. And that's going to look like the, let's do this. So here, first equals true. I do basically the same thing, except for here, it's going to be insert statement. So insert statement, and this should be value. And we're going to see how this looks. Except for I don't need those. I need regular tick marks because these are going to be values and not names or anything like that. So let's see, insert statement. I need that here. And then we're going to see in a second, what do these look like? Oh, I'm sorry, it's not value, it's called row. Oh, no, that's right, it is value. Okay, so there's a value. Okay, so let's take a look at what it does. It blew up. Oh, that needs to be a string. Whoop. Make sure, because we're adding this into our little SQL string that we're building. And so now we're going to see a ton of insert statements coming in. We'll take a second here while it's generating all of these. And hopefully it'll finish here in a second. I probably could get rid of those two tables, and that would have helped it immensely. Okay, here we go. So now we can look into like stats. Insert into stats. He's got stat ID, code, value, value 2, updated. And then the values are going to be right there. So let's just take those because we should be able to take those. So let's do some values and stat ID. We're going to take those. We're just going to pop over here. And, whoop. Oh, I did not want to do that. Crap. Okay. So if I take those, oh, no data basics selected, so it needs to be a tutorial. And then they all just ran. So now I won't see those show up. Now let me say owners, what were the ones that had a lot of table? Owners and horses, I think. Let's do, because I had a couple of these. Let's get rid of breeders, horses, and owners. So what I'm going to do here is sync rows. Let's go back to my tables list here real quick. So, okay, if row not equal to horses, let's do this. Horses, owners, and breeders. So let's do this. And breeders. Whoops. Let's do owners. So now this should fly through a lot faster. Oops. If we come through here, so we're not going to see at the end, we're not going to see stats or some values. Oops. Oh, that's why. Let's do this. It's row 0, my mistake. Let's do that so it'll be a little more readable. Okay. Oh, but we do see some values and stats. Oh, because we're not checking for differences. We're just pulling all of the rows over. So that's our first thing, is we need to see, does that exist, or do we want to just empty the table? So the dumb thing to do, the brute force thing, would be to empty the table and do our inserts. So let's do first, let's go to the most simple way to do that, which would be, so if we go into here, so before we do them, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do this, and we're going to go to the DB destination, and we're going to empty it. So we're going to do truncate, which I think we can do. Let me make sure I've got that right. Truncate stats. Okay. So I can truncate the table. This is going to be the trunk cable query. And trunk query. Except we don't want to do it on the source, we want to do it on the destination. So now we're going to empty the table, and then what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, and we're going to execute here. Except for it's going to be our insert statement. And let's see how this works for us. So we now should see a whole bunch of the, not a whole bunch, we should see these tables start to fill up. So let's see what happens. Let's see, incorrect integer. 4. Okay, so let's see what our statement looks like. Print insert statement. And so we may have an issue that we've got to look into. So here, oh, it's a none. So we need to change that. So what we do need to do is say, let's see. Let's do this. Let's do cur value equals string value. And this is going to be cur value. Except, let's do it this way. We're going to actually play with this one a little bit. So we're going to say that plus that plus that. And this becomes cur value. Or cur value. So it's going to have that, but what we're going to do is we're going to say if cur value equals none, cur value equals null. So now we should see that run through. And we're still getting an incorrect integer none in here. So we're going to have to look into that, but we are going to be able to see here, if we look at like address, we're now seeing that our numbers have come across. So the next episode, we're going to have to come in, we're going to have to chase this little thing down because we're having an issue with that. Oh, I know what it is. It's going to be, we're going to have to do it like that. Whoop. Quick fix. Yeah. So now we should see this works. And, oh, null is not defined. It doesn't like the null. So it can't be null. It's going to be, we're going to keep it blank. And now let's see what happens. And we're still getting some errors. So we're going to dig into this next summer because I don't want to go too long on this one. So we will come back. As always, go out there and have yourself a great day, a great week, and we will talk to you next time.